last CTC Running Start series of the academic year for 2025. We are going to be recording this and we will share it out on the SBCTC YouTube dual credit page. Our session today is going to be from 9 until 11 a.m. It is June 18th. I certainly wanted to just start off by saying thank you to everyone for joining us. I know this is a very busy time of the year. I hope you all are finding joy during this graduation season, and hopefully, if you haven't yet, have some time for some self-care coming up because I know how busy spring can be. So, again, thanks for being here, and we will go ahead and get on started. All right, so for introductions, my name is Stephanie Rock. I am a policy associate at SBCTC in Student Services and K-12 Alignment. And just really looking forward to our session today. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kristen for introductions.
Hi folks, I'm Kristen Jowie. I'm the Program Administrator of Student Services and K-12 Alignment, and I will go ahead and kick it off to Brandon.
Good morning, everyone. Name is Brandon Reed. I'm here at the State Board in the Information Technology Division under the CTC Link Student Financials Customer Support Team. And also joining me today is Spencer Egbert, and he is our Senior Functional Analyst, technical guru that has done a significant amount of technical work on behalf of the colleges to the pages, to the queries, and we are really happy to be here and happy to be working with you now and going forward. Tim?
Good morning, everybody. Tim McLean, Dual Credit Program Supervisor at OSPI. As Stephanie said, celebrating the end of spring term and graduation with my own daughter completing 5th grade, moving on to middle school next year. It's been an exciting time. So throw out your favorite emoji if you have your own graduate, big or small. We're there. We're coming to the end of this school year and appreciate everybody's support through it all.
Okay, I think that just leaves me. Hi, my name is Anisja Burge. I am the Assistant Director of Running Start at Olympic College.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And so as you can see, we have a very full schedule today with some wonderful presenters, experts in the room today to share their wealth of knowledge with you all. So taking a quick peek at our agenda, we will start with our dual credit updates. And so Tim will share out what he's got from OSPI, and I will share some updates. And then we will turn it on over to Brandon and Spencer in our Student Financials Department at SBCTC. And they're going to give you some information, kind of do a recap of what we've talked about really over this series for this past academic year, and then really look ahead to 2025, 2026, and what we are already starting to plan, which is very exciting. And so, yes, sneak peek, we will have our series going into next year, which will be starting in the fall, and we'll share those dates in a minute here. And then really excited about this. We have Olympic College here to present on Running Start advising best practices, particularly in the summer, but really sharing just a wealth of knowledge about what the Running Start program looks like at Olympic College. And so this is new, having a college present, and we're really excited that Olympic has decided to be our guinea pigs here, so thank you. And so, you know, we've tried to be creative in sharing information with like breakout sessions. And we thought this would be a really, let's switch it up and have colleges actually present like what they do. And so really excited. Thank you so much for being here and being willing to present. And so looking forward to that. And then we probably won't have time for breakout sessions today, but we will certainly wrap up with some save the dates and what to look forward to. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in. All right, turn it over to Tim.
All right, the school year may be winding down, but our our work is not. We've been really busy at OSPI trying to churn out guidance. You are all likely aware already of the summer running start guidance that we pushed out last month. I am of the impression that has been extremely helpful. in terms of addressing a lot of the questions that were coming up, particularly around graduating seniors, participating in Running Start. I am interested in hearing if you're continuing to run into challenges. For the most part, I've been under the impression that as that guidance was made available, simply pushing it forward to the district when you've met resistance has been pretty successful in addressing that. I hope that to be the case. It has been in my direct correspondence with a lot of you, but I will continue to intervene and help out when you're running into challenges. So please let me know. I do continue to get questions from students and families about enrolling in Running Start that for the summer. So that's just something to be on your radar. I am recommending a lot of them start with you at the colleges because of the limited staffing available at the high schools. We've encountered this every year that there's not always the appropriate amount of guidance and support because we haven't been funded to run operations in the summer to facilitate this. So just be aware if there are folks showing up at your doorstep, they might have been sent by me. So we are trying to continue to advocate for increased access and make sure nobody's turned away who is otherwise eligible. So just know that those inquiries are still coming to me, and I'm doing my best to get those families the support they need as school buildings have by and large closed for the summer. If you haven't already had those conversations with your school districts about how to facilitate Running Start after the buildings have closed, I really encourage you to pick up the phone and give a ring to the school district as schools may have been closed. I'm very curious to see how Olympic is managing this. Might have to rejoin and hear their presentation on the recording because I won't be able to stay on the whole time. Another thing that we just pushed out, I started with Running Start because we're talking Running Start, but I did want to advise that we've also pushed out credit conversion guidance. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is the statute that requires 3 or 5, depending on semester or quarter, credit college courses to be converted to at minimum a 1.0 high school credit. That guidance came out a couple of weeks ago now. It is particularly impactful for college and the high school and CTE dual credit. I think by and large, that's been applied with fidelity for Running Start. So some of you here in the room may not be terribly familiar with it because the questions haven't arisen around Running Start. But it does pertain to college level coursework across the board. And that is something we have been fielding a lot of questions about this year, more than in past years. And I think that has to do with the graduation waiver that is no longer available to students that came out of the COVID crisis. And I think that there's been a scramble to figure out crediting in a new way. So it's particularly directed at college and the high school and CTE dual credit. It has startled some folks, I'll be honest. And I had a feeling that it would, particularly around CTE dual credit. This policy hasn't necessarily been adhered to across the state, and that was becoming evident in the questions that I was having to field over the course of the year. We are engaging in continued conversations. We just had a meeting with Bill Belden at SBCTC on Monday to kind of process what we're hearing. We've heard it from consortia. We've heard it from the Western region. We've heard it from individual colleges that this shift, if you will, which really shouldn't be a shift, is going to be very impactful for CTE in particular. And I just want to note that this guidance was put out because the statute's been on the books since 1994. So I want to be really clear, we're not changing policy here. If you haven't read it yet, it makes really clear the fact that this was on the books in 94. It was reauthorized in 97. It's been in our FAQ for ages. And we just need to ensure fidelity to it. So I will drop links in if somebody isn't already. It looks like Stephanie's on the ball. But I was going to do that after my remarks. So that guidance is out. It went out through our listserv. It was forwarded to the SBCTC listserv earlier this week, I think, and I encourage you to take a look at it. If it doesn't impact you directly, it probably impacts folks in your neighborhood. I did want to provide an update on rulemaking. This has probably been on a slide of mine before, because the rulemaking process around Running Start has been in some way, shape, or form in motion for a couple of years now. I would say that we are now at the stages where that rulemaking is accelerating now that we're out of the legislative session. There were changes that needed to be made in 2023 with 1316 that were done in emergency rule. Then we had legislation around rising juniors in 2024. And so there's just been continuing metamorphosis around Running Start rules that has precluded us from moving forward on them as things continued to change and things got ironed out along the way. We are now meeting actively with our GR teams. And so there's going to be some things now with the change in special education being made available to students till the age of 22. That will be a change. We know that the state auditor's office has been looking at Running Start reporting and evidence of enrollment throughout some of the colleges that is spurring some additional changes to the essentials. And what I mean by that is 1316 made things non-negotiable in some aspects. Again, a lot of those rules have already been addressed in emergency rule, but they need to be made permanent. So that is occurring right now. More information to come as we start to file emergency rules around count dates and reporting that will impact colleges. I don't want to go too deep into the weeds right now, but there is going to be a change to the reporting dates for colleges to align with the SAO's finding. There will also be the change to special ed students, along with the things that we already knew and have been doing around 1316 and rising juniors and summer Running Start and the like. So more to come on that, but those are the statutes that I've referenced on your screen. And then finally, some more exciting news. We have translated the RSEVF and the summer RSEVF along with our dual credit guidance into, I didn't count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 languages. Those are in my file folder right now. I'm looking at them. We have Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Punjabi, Russian, Somali, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese. And those will be posted to the website shortly. We are going to be putting those up with a more significant revision to our web pages. But if you need them in the meantime, I have them. So if you have students that are in need of one of these forms in their first language, then feel free to reach out to me. I don't think it'll be very long before they're posted, but we will get them posted and I'll get an update out to the listserv as to where you can find them and when they are available. So that is my slide. And I'll let Stephanie, I have some time, Stephanie, so you can go into your updates and I'm happy to field questions after we've both presented.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
All right. So what I wanted to bring everybody's attention to is on Friday the 13th. We actually, SBCTC just released a policy brief. It was sent out on both listservs for college and high school and Running Start. And basically what that policy brief is, it's ensuring statutory compliance and Running Start income verification. And so what we did was we're trying to make sure that colleges are in compliance, right, with the RCW, the amended RCW. So giving a little bit of background information. And this is in the policy brief, which went out on the listserv, and we will send this out as well in our follow-up email, just so that everybody has this easily accessible. But in 2019, the Washington State Legislature passed Senate House Bill 1973, which was to ensure equitable access to Running Start by simplifying the process for verifying students' low-income status. And so what we did was, in collaboration with OSPI, us, SBCTC, Council of Presidents, and WASAC, the Washington Student Achievement Council, is we revised that Running Start enrollment verification form. And as you all know, we do that annually. But when we did that in 2019, there was a dedicated section to indicate a student's low income status, and then verified by a high school counselor. And so there's been a lot of questions lately that have been filtered to both OSPI and SBCTC about the Running Start, or the RSEVF in particular, verifying free and reduced price lunch student eligibility. And so we thought it would be important at this time to issue just some guidance from SBCTC. And so basically, we just want to make sure that the RSEVF really should serve as the primary and sufficient documentation for determining a student's low income status for tuition and fee waivers, as well as funding for books and materials. And I'm kind of going through the policy brief right now, and that is indicated here too in this slide. The exception is if a student has already submitted other valid documentation confirming low income status, the documentation may be used in place of the RSEVF. So really, we just want to provide the guidance of no additional documentation. Colleges must not request or require additional documentation from students unless there is clear, verifiable evidence that contradicts the information certified by the high school counselor on the RSEVF. Really, and then this was meant to streamline access for students. So, obviously colleges may use internal processes such as vouchers or supplemental forms to subsidize fees, books, and materials not covered under the RCW. But again, we really this is all about removing barriers for students to access Running Start. So really, there shouldn't be any additional signatures from high school counselors or administrators required. We want to alleviate any burdens we possibly can, right, when it comes to our K-12 partners, us at the colleges, our students and families. And so, the limitations to the disclosure, as Tim has mentioned many times, and this is all in the policy brief and mentioned here, recognizing that some districts' child nutrition offices adhere more strictly to regulations governing the disclosure of FRPL information. So colleges may need to, in this case, contact school district administrators or the child nutrition offices directly when counselors don't have access to the FRPL information. So, the intent here is just, we want to make sure we're always looking at a student first approach and removing barriers and building trust in our K-12 partners. So I wanted to make sure we pointed this out and that we had an opportunity to discuss, because I'm sure there's probably some questions, as I already see coming up here. So I think at this point I will pause and maybe we can have a conversation about it. And I appreciate Tim being on here too, because this is obviously a collaboration with the RSEVF. So let's see here. Should we start? I saw Jane. Go ahead. I see your hand up. Go ahead, Jane Berry.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I just, I'm not sure if you're aware of how much the way the wording is on the new form is really causing a lot of misinformation. So we often will follow up, and the students often are saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not fee waiver student, whether the parent chooses to choose yes. Many counselors are putting yes, and the families are coming back saying, I'm not fee waiver. So it's very inaccurate without us confirming. So we normally have 350, 400 fee waivers with a new form. It was getting jacked up. I mean, it was astronomical, the difference. So I think the wording is really questionable, but without us verifying, a good majority are coming back saying, oh, I'm sorry, I marked it wrong. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jane. As you all know, we do have our annual edits to the RSEVF. So that is something we have been hearing that, and I know Tim can absolutely jump in here and share too, that maybe the changes that we thought were good ideas and helpful and having student voice in the process maybe are having some repercussions for you all in when it comes to kind of making sure and maybe there's some confusion with students and everyone alike. So we appreciate that certainly. And this guidance, this policy brief is really meant about just ensuring we're not creating additional barriers by requiring additional signatures or an additional form for students. And I hear what you're saying. It seems like there's an increase in error. And so I do apologize for that because that's not a good feeling to have to kind of backtrack and re-verify things. So it's something certainly that Tim and I'm speaking on behalf of Tim, but Tim can jump in here too, but that we will definitely consider and have already noted that we need to kind of look at that. So Tim, I don't know, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, I would just say that very well may be next on my list for providing guidance on, like I said, the silver lining of our budget crisis is that I have more capacity to produce guidance with funding being limited. It churns my attention to other things. And so you've probably noticed I've been diving right into doing some guidance documents, and I think that's the next one on my list for next year. The RSEVF, I get it. I'm hearing it loud and clear that change has been challenging and often misinterpreted. I would just clarify, what it says on the student side is the consent checkbox. That is not intended to say yes or no. It says I provide consent to share my information, which should trigger the counselor to say, okay, I have student consent. Here's what I know. And that obviously has not been clear to folks. So we will look into making a change to the form, but I will also be looking into providing some guidance, not just on the form itself, but on the expectation for sharing. I've mentioned this before. I've done my due diligence in contacting our child nutrition offices, and the reality is that there are federal guidelines that some take more strictly than others. And trying to get movement on child nutrition offices to be more flexible with the sharing of information has not been met with great success. That's just the reality. I think we're still going to be in a position of having to manage this district by district, depending on their policies and their practices. The one thing I would say, because I've seen it firsthand in trying to troubleshoot some of this, is it's really important to identify where there is a systemic issue around the completion of the RSEVF and where there is an individual issue with the RSEVF. I have worked with some of you and discovered that it's a particular counselor as opposed to a more widespread issue. And my guidance to those folks has been, you need to elevate that to school leadership. If there is one counselor who is intentionally leaving something blank or is more confused than others about those check boxes, that's an individual issue as opposed to a district that says, we're just not going to give you that information. And so where I need to intervene differs depending on the scenario. And we have in this guidance and elsewhere said, if there is a district that is not allowing counselors access to this information, we need to pivot and we need to talk to the district child nutrition services office, because there is a statutory requirement that you get that information. But I have done my best, but have learned I cannot force the CNS office to change their practices and their requirements as far as privacy goes. So I do think there has to be just some discernment between what is systemic and what is an individual challenge or an error. As Stephanie said, that those two things are distinct and need to be handled differently.
Thanks, Tim. We're going to go ahead. Nora, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've always seen some issues with the FRLP, just people not checking boxes, everything like that. It's been a lot more so this year. Jane, I'm having the opposite problem. I usually have about 45% of my students who are on the free or reduced lunch programs at their high school, and I'm getting so much less of that with this new EVF. My question really is the fact that I've had one of my school district administrators offer to give me a list of the students who are in Running Start and indicate whether they are free or reduced lunch or not. Is that an acceptable thing if they've offered it?
Yeah, that's actually precisely what the statute says. The statute says, does not say counselors have to give you this information. It actually says the district has to give you a list of all students, Running Start students who are FRPL eligible. Now, it also says subject to funding available to do this, which is always the the death knell for anything that's put into statute. But that is actually exactly what the alternative approach is, to go to the district. There's a question in the chat about how you get to this information. It's the child. There should be at every district a child nutrition services office that's Googleable, and if you can give them a ring and say, I'm having trouble getting this information. We're trying to do what's best for students. We're trying to be equitable and giving them the breaks, the waivers that they are entitled to. Will you help us with this information because it's not being provided to the school counselor? If they are willing to do that, that's exactly what should be happening. The counselor approach and the RSEVF has always been an effort not to duplicate efforts or put an additional responsibility on an external, if you will, partner in the work. But yes, totally. If they're offering up a list, you should absolutely take it.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to kind of pop over to the chat. I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge some of these comments here, or all of the comments. Chelsea, I continue to receive EVFs missing free and reduced lunch information. Didn't have this much trouble with old form. Keely, us too, but it's always been a problem with new and old. Also, I hear from some high school counselors that they don't have a recourse to determine whether a student qualifies for free and reduced price lunch or not. Okay, kind of what we've been talking about here, unfortunately. And then Nora, yep, I agree with Chelsea. It seems to be more confusing to the students and the counselors this year. Noted. And then Lupe commented, so even for book waivers, the EVF should be fine. Yes, so you can use the RSEVF. One of the intentions of the RSEVF is that you can use that to kind of signal that this student would be eligible for a book waiver. I will also say, though, colleges do have their own discretion if you would like to have your own internal book process and what that could look like. If you want to have students also sign off on a form or complete a form for book vouchers, that's completely acceptable. I would just advise, just ensure that you're not creating any additional barriers for students. That's what this is all about. And Tim looks like he unmuted. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I think it's covered. I love your guidance, Stephanie, and I think
Yeah,
it's
thanks.
covered in there. I'll just reiterate.
Mhm.
A book waiver is not established in statute as a
Right.
requirement.
Mhm.
So what you do to verify a student's eligibility, or even what your standards are for establishing eligibility for a book waiver, is different from the fee waiver that is established in statute. So if you have your own separate process that's specific to book waivers, and you don't want to use the RSEVF, I wash my hands of that. That's between you and Stephanie. But
Yes.
if it is about, so what we have seen is some that have combined book and fee waivers. That's where it becomes problematic, because the fee waivers are established in statute as a requirement. Book waivers are not. So there's a distinction there. And what I would also wanted to add before even reading that was that if you have your own internal process that you wish to use for a student who did not identify on their RSEVF as being eligible for FRPL or otherwise low income, it's also important to note that there are students out there who are homeschooled, who never would have applied for free and reduced price lunch because they don't go to a school. And those students may still be low income students. They still may be eligible for FRPL, but no counselor would know that. There's no record of that. And so nobody is saying you should not have a standalone process to utilize in those scenarios. It's just that it should not be done as a blanket process for all students if they are already identified. So I think it's important to make that clear, both for students who we don't know about and for students who are seeking support for other things that aren't established in statute.
Well said, Tim. Yeah, that's really important to know, especially with considering homeschool students. Thank you. All right, other questions? I think we've hit on all the ones in the chat here. All right, we'll go ahead and go into the next slide. Okay, so this is our save the dates. So these are the dates we have solidified when it comes to dual credit events coming up first, effective fall and into next academic year. So one thing I know, not running START, but there is a collaborative SBCTC Council of Presidents College and High School webinar that will have state level updates, and that's going to be Tuesday, September 30th from 11 a.m. to 12:30. So I know sometimes there's some overlap with our community here that also dabbles with college and high school. So we thought we would be important to mention that. And that particular webinar was scheduled for June, and we just have put it off until end of September. So just wanted to make a note of that. I know that was shared on the listserv, but I also wanted to just note that here. And then this is the first time we're announcing this. We have a dual credit webinar. I know we've been basically having this annually, kind of kicking off in the fall between OSPI, SBCTC, and Council of Presidents. We will be co-hosting a dual credit webinar. That'll be Thursday, October 23rd, 9 to 11. So please save the date. Again, we'll send all this information out on the listservs as well. But we wanted to get that to you all, as we know coming to fall term, it's going to be very busy. So save the date. And this will be an opportunity not only for our colleges, but also our K-12 partners to join us. So it'll be and include dual credit in general. So not necessarily just running START. So make sure to save the date on that one. And then finally, we have our CTC Running Start series. All dates are going to be 9 to 11. We do anticipate that we will also record them and share them out on our SBCTC Dual Credit YouTube channel, so our page. And so save the dates. We'll also send this information out. They will start in November and go monthly. I just wanted to note we did skip December just because we know that that can be a very busy time as well, wrapping up term, holidays. So just wanted to make an important note on that one. So we will get this all out to you all too on the listservs. All right, go ahead. Next slide. Okay, and finally for our dual credit updates, we have a bunch of surveys. So one of them I wanted, and interestingly enough, 2 out of the 3 close this Friday. So wanted to make a note of that. This Friday, June 20th, end of day. Make sure that if you can fit it in, we would really appreciate it. Both of these two surveys. One is our statewide vision for dual credit. So we're calling it the Washington Dual Credit Stakeholder Survey. We have put both of these surveys out on our listservs. But basically, this is the first one there is our next phase of dual enrollment policy cohort. Washington was selected one out of 7 states to do this 2-year national initiative led by the College and High School Alliance, CHSA. And so we are partnered with OSPI, Council of Presidents, and ERDC or OFM in this work. And so we thought as one of our starting points was to really survey you all on what is our vision for dual credit statewide. So really, it probably takes about 20 minutes to complete that survey. So we would really appreciate it if you all could take the opportunity to do that if you have not yet, because this is really important work and this will serve as really the platform for the work we're going to continue to do as a state in collaboration. So that one closes on June 20th, this Friday. And then the other one is our Wisher Dual Credit Commission is asking for feedback from partners from around the state to help shape a series of workshops for this next academic year as well. That's going to focus on providing information and discussion about a variety of topics related to dual credit programs. So it really will be meant to kind of enhance these series, but be more inclusive of dual credit as a whole. So I think this one takes about 10 minutes to complete. And so that also has that closing date of this Friday. So please take a minute if you can or haven't yet. And then finally, we have our CTC Running Start Innovative Practices Survey. So this is specific to our community and technical colleges. And basically, we're just asking for you to share with us what you're doing. And that was really Olympic College had completed this, and they were willing to present today. And so we would love for additional colleges and innovative practices to be shared in our series next year. So this, if you have some ideas or you think, hey, we're doing a good job of this, like please feel free to share. And if you'd be willing to present, we would love that as well to fit you into the schedule this next year. And there's no closing date on that one. So it's just open. So at any time, if you want to drop some ideas in there, we monitor it. All right, go ahead. Next slide. Okay, I actually will pause there real quick. Does anyone have any questions for Tim or just about any of the dual credit updates before we turn it over to student financials? All right, well, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us as always. Good luck on graduation, and looking forward to working with you this summer and into next year.
Great. Pleasure to be here as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Brandon and Spencer, I'm going to turn it on over to you, our awesome SBCTC student financials team. They have a presentation for you all. Thank you, Brandon and Spencer.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the intro there, Stephanie and Kristen. And we are here to talk about, what kind of transpired this past year, what we're going to be looking into for next year with regards to how the student financials team, which just to remind everybody, we manage and have within our purview the all-important student running start page and CTC link. And of course, that is the all-important page where your student and school billing credits are waived, and a lot of that is processed within CTC link. And so we have very much enjoyed and grown with Stephanie and Kristen and the ed policy team over the past year plus, as to how to make things more efficient, how to attain information from the Running Start community. And we just can't say enough how much we enjoy working with the whole community, and look forward to continuing to support you all. One of the big projects that you all for sure heard of was titled the Student Financial Responsibility Agreement. And I do have to apologize for spamming the Running Start listserv either maybe a week or so ago when I sent out an ask to Jamie and Stephanie to make sure my students my SFRA note was reviewed and any edits. And so sorry for that spam, but you did receive a rather comprehensive update note. But just to kind of review how the SFRA impacts the Running Start community, this past May, it went live into production for 8 of the colleges listed there. And so far, so good. We are not hearing of any major issues. And just as a general reminder, this Student Financial Responsibility Agreement is a mandate from the 90s that we attain acknowledgement or an agreement that there could be fees that the students have to make payment on, and that payment could be could create holes, be sent to collections, and some other information as well. This is for all students that are over 18 years old. And so the day after a student turns 18, this will go on their account, and they will need to agree to the terms and conditions like they do for many other services. And that's right through the CTC Link self-service process. And so because all students enroll via CTC Link self-service, this will be very convenient. It takes just a few seconds to acknowledge and to review. And so, as we continue in the winter term, which we have another 16 colleges going live in the winter, and then the rest of the 5 colleges going live in the spring term. And so please expect communications to go out from your colleges to all students so that they are ready for this to happen and understand the very kind of straightforward method for going in and seeing that there's the hold, agreeing to it, reviewing it, and understanding it. It does only have to be agreed upon once per year, again, for students over 18 years old. And the exempted populations are just students in the DOC program and students in the continuing education grouping. So as far as and then there is a QRG that is linked there, and there is a ton of information within that QRG. I do not have the breakout of cohorts between the second and third. But I have received all surveys where colleges have indicated when they would like to go live. And so if you ask someone in your student financials area or your point of contact person for CTC Link, they should have that information. And so that is our update. That's probably one of the bigger projects that the SF team and the Ed Policy and the state board have been working on over the past year in order to get in and up to speed and making sure that we are abiding by the mandates given to us. So that's one big recap item, and going forward, kind of a combination there. Also, this past year we had some sort.
And then decided no, just scratch my glass.
Oh, I'm sorry, couldn't quite hear you, Junie. Were you needing to? Did you have a question about the SFRA? No. Okay. So also in regards to some of what we worked on for you this past year, the 910 rule, which was incorporated into the Student Running Start page that automatically waived that single credit, will be moving into the production environment prior to the fall term. And so we are going to be removing that rule for the fall term going forward due to some of the maximum unit updates that and some policy changes that Stephanie and her team have developed and it kind of did in response to some of the changes last year with the maximum units being allowed. As of right now, where that actual process removal is the operational governance process. And so with Stephanie and the SF team and I will be, discussing this with the college collaboration group and the working series group to make sure that all of the appropriate boxes are checked. We'll go through a robust testing periods, and we'll definitely send you some updates here as we get closer and closer to that fall term so that you understand how this will impact you. Essentially, just reviewing, the 9-10 rule will no longer be effective for the fall term moving forward. In addition, from that survey that we heard from you with regards to that 9-10 rule, we also had a couple of ideas put forth for additional changes to the student running start pages. One of those requests was to have a listing of if the student is enrolled at multiple colleges and having that as a marker on the student running start page. And so we're going to be moving forward with our application services team and creating an enhancement request for that update, in addition to the counselor information field being updated and utilized on that page as well, and adding in a checkbox that will be that will store if the student is a homeschooled student on that same student running start page. And so just a few items that after the 9-10 rule project is completed, we'll be moving forward with some of those items, and we will continue to, in the fall term when we re-meet, give you updates on where those items are, and if there's any other ideas that have maybe happened or popped into your heads between now and that fall time period. In addition, there was a few solid reports that we were able to get released. The first of which is the RS Billing High School report, which, if you don't know, the name of the query is listed right there at the second bullet point, and that was released this past October. And so please check it out in CTC link if you are interested in maybe seeing what that has to offer you. And Spencer is in the final stages of a validation report that will help to kind of give a quick look back after you've done some of the student roll to make sure that no important fields were missed after doing that roll. And so we will be sending out an update here in the next couple of weeks that it is in production and ready to be used for the fall term start as well. And so we are on the tail end of that. Spencer, is there anything that you wanted to add with regards to some of the different process improvements or page improvements that we reviewed?
Oh, I think you got it.
All right. And, as far as the next slide kind of does talk to you a little bit about what we're going to be continuing to work with the Running Start community and Stephanie and Kristen and the Ed Policy crew with regards to making sure that any of those functional page updates are tested appropriately, are communicated, and we're very transparent with how they're going to impact you so that you can know what you're going to see and experience and how that's going to impact your students' accounts. We will continue to field through the surveys any query changes, any updates to those queries that you find could be utilized globally. And we're really excited that Olympic is giving the presentation here in just a moment, because we can't think of any better way of training besides peer training. And Also, speaking of training, we are going to be utilizing a new trainer was brought aboard for the student financials area, and so we're really excited to bring them aboard and to have them work with us and with Stephanie's team to make sure that Canvas, the training calendar, Trumba, and the reference center are updated as soon as we can make that happen, so that you can utilize those resources and expand those resources to facilitate better experience and understanding of the functional processes of the Student Running Start page and the billing process that's also kind of downstream from that page. And then, of course, lastly, with regards to some of that training, is that we really want to make sure that we continue to offer the types of trainings through this series and through the dates that Stephanie advertised just a moment ago, so that you all feel up to speed with any of those changes, or new staff coming aboard. They have the opportunity to hear from us, to hear from yourselves with regards to how best to utilize the page functionality and things like that. And lastly, our third bullet point there is a project that Kristen and Stephanie and Spencer and I are going to be working on to roll out in the fall term, which will be an inventory of what's all out there, so that you'll be able to go to a single spot and choose and link out from there the appropriate resource for the topic that you're interested in learning more about, connecting with. And so we're excited to have that in the plans and look forward to rolling that out to you all as well. And so you know where to find Stephanie and I. We're at the state board. We're all, Kristen and Spencer and I are here to support you in any way that you need functionally for CTC Link and for making sure that student success is paramount. So thank you all very much for what you do. And we're here as well for any questions that you may have with some of these updates.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Any questions? I know that was a lot of amazing, great information. And, I just cannot thank Brandon and Spencer enough. They're just so collaborative and trying to be so innovative with their thought process and anticipate what the Running Start community needs, right, to support students. So just can't thank you enough for your partnership. I'm really looking forward to what we can do together moving into this academic year and beyond. Any questions for Brandon Spencer? All right. Well, thank you so much, Brandon Spencer. Appreciate you all. And the next time they will be at the Running Start series to present will be that November series date. So just wanted to make sure to mention that, because the October 23rd date is the collaborative webinar that'll be open to all K-12 partners and higher education institutions. So just wanted to make an important note on that one. It'll be the November date, that series date. I think it's November 19th. So save that date because we'll have some goodness coming your way with student financials. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go ahead and turn it on over to Olympic College for their presentation on advising best practices, and particularly really related to summer. And we're really excited. This is something new that we're trying, and we really appreciate Olympic College volunteering and being willing to share all their wonderful information and practices, best practices.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Once again, my name is Anisja. I work with the Running Start office at OC, and I'll be talking a little bit about what we do. I have my team online too, so if you do have questions, feel free to send them in the chat, and I'm sure that they will be happy to answer anything quick that comes up during my presentation. And I think there will also be time after I'm done for additional questions that may be interesting for everyone. So first of all, I thought it might be helpful to give a little bit of an overview over Olympic College and what the college actually looks like. So our annual headcount is just over 8,000, around 8,700, and Running Start makes up about 20% of that number. So So current Running Start students are about 20%, but if you take into consideration former Running Start students, we do actually make up about 30% of the college. So I'm saying this specifically because, of course, that can be very interesting for colleges to know that the retention rate of Running Start students is pretty significant. The median age at OC is 23, so pretty young. And then our enrollment actually went up from 23 to 24 by about 13%. I think it was 10% the year before. And our current enrollment is about 1,000 for summer and fall 25. So we're on track to just keep that trend going. 80% of our students are full-time. That's for spring 2025. So this is now specifically Running Start students. And 22% of our students are SRSL currently. We work with quite a big number of high schools. It usually hovers around 30 high schools that we serve, give or take. Of course, when students move, sometimes they stay with us, but they go to a different high school. But generally, we are serving the Kitsap and Mason County communities. Okay, to talk a little bit about our team, I think that is also helpful because I know it very much varies from college to college how big the team is. Our team, we're very fortunate that we are quite big, given our numbers, so around 1,300 students, of course, we realize that we need those numbers too, so we need the amount of staff that we have. We currently have 2 full-time advisors. We call them success coaches at OC. We just hired a 3rd one, so that's very exciting. And they do our main advising. So they have a full advising load. That includes, of course, also all the pre and post appointments that come with a regular appointment, all the communications, drop-ins. We have a virtual office, emails, and all of that. They also take care of all the student alerts. This is part of Olympic College. We have a system for instructor alerts. I don't know if every community college does that, but they basically go from the beginning of the term until the end. We have academic progress advising, so students on academic concern. They schedule their advising appointment with us. That also was just made mandatory. So that is definitely an additional load that is being pushed onto the advisors. We have 2 part-time advisors who really focus mainly on the advising piece. They are both virtual. And then we have our wonderful program specialist 3, Kel, who does all the admissions, evaluations, does all the updated placements and all of that comes with, admissions processes. She also sends out enrollment and grade reports to the high schools and maintains basically all of our student records. We also have a program specialist too, Olivia, who is kind of our main point of contact for all students, high schools. Anyone who calls the office will probably talk to her. So she deals with our Running Start inbox. So we have a shared email. She monitors the phone, the in-person traffic, virtual office when needed, and she does all of our scheduling. So all the student appointments, we work with Calendly for all of that, and that obviously needs to be put onto or needs to be sorted through. We have a massive tracking sheet for all the students where we track their appointments, and that is kind of the big piece of Olivia's role. To help Olivia do that, we have 1 to 2 student workers. It's going to go down to 1, unfortunately, now. And they help with the inbox, the phone, and filing all of our incoming RSEDFs. So that, as you can imagine, for 1,300 students is just quite a lot. So yeah, and then we have our director, Dr. Ramos, and me as the assistant director. We both have a 50% advising load officially. That typically doesn't really work out, so we do quite a bit more advising, and then obviously everything else that just comes up. Okay, The reason why we have such a big team, especially for advising, is because we do have quarterly advising for all students. So all 1,300, and I say 1,300 as like it like fluctuates obviously, but that's where we're at right now. All of those students will have some kind of advising for all quarters. We advise summer and fall together. So OC opens enrollment for summer and fall at the same time. And then we have winter and then spring advising. The advising meetings are typically 45 minutes. So if they come in person or they are in online, they're 45 minutes. And we talk about how's the quarter going, enrollment, academic goals. So all of that stuff will be covered in those 45 minutes. We also have those academic support meetings. Like I said, it's now been made mandatory by OC. So anyone on concern, warning, all of that has to come in for advising. That has turned out to be quite an extra burden, actually. So we're trying to kind of navigate that right now. And are working with other departments to figure out what a good practice is for that. We have mandatory new student orientation. That's kind of the biggest chunk of our work right now during this time. So we have 30 to 40 students, depending on how many of us are like in the office that day. And we have partially like a big presentation for about an hour, a little bit more. And then we help students enroll during those sessions as well. So they bring their RSEVF or they've already submitted it. And then we just help them get into classes, show them CTC link for the first time, maybe for the first time, hopefully not, but sometimes. And those run basically from the first day of new student enrollment, which was, I think, June, the beginning of June 2nd. All the way through summer. So we definitely have students still in August and early September coming to those sessions and wanting to start in September. In terms of our holds, and I'm sorry, I know I'm just rattling through my slides here. I hope this all makes sense, but in terms of holds, we have a RSEVF hold. So that prevents students from making any changes to their schedule, adding, dropping, all of that. That hold is being removed when the student submits a signed RSEVF and scheduled an advising appointment. So the expectation is not that they have come to the advising appointment, but more so that they've scheduled it. We don't actually have that many no-shows, considering that students can enroll themselves, because it turns out students still want to go over their things. They still want to discuss what they did. They want to discuss if it was the right choice. If it aligns with their goals. So yeah, the no-shows are actually not that high. And Running Start students have priority enrollment on day 1 of enrollment if the hold has been released by then. So we do advertise it pretty heavily that they follow the steps, they take care of all the things so that they at least can enroll, so that they get into the classes that they need and want. We are also kind of experimenting a little bit with a drop hold right now. The drop hold has turned out to be a little bit difficult because it prevents students not only from dropping classes in the current quarter, but it also overlaps with the enrollment date sometimes. So right now, the students couldn't drop anything for spring quarter, which was the intention, to not accidentally drop like a high school requirement that they need for graduation. But if they've already selected their fall classes and they want to switch sections, for example, they also can't do that. So we're still working on kind of figuring that part out a little bit. Yeah. In terms of summer, I think that's, I guess, one big piece for this presentation. We started summer and fall advising in May, as soon as shopping carts opened. And for all students who are coming in now, basically, we did ask counselors to leave comments on their RSEVF. So on their summer RSEVF and fall RSEVF, we asked them to leave a comment that they are okay with us making changes to the student schedule. That is primarily important for new student orientations, for students who are maybe a class that they really wanted is now full, which is very common. And so they have to like find a different class. If there are no comments on the RSEDF, we're a little bit stuck, and because we want to respect what the counselors want. But we just try to communicate with them that the more comments they leave in terms of what they allow for us to do, the better it is for the student in the end. So that has been really helpful, and the counselors really have been awesome about that. They leave a lot of comments about like can make changes with their OC advisor, for example, that type of stuff. We have a lot of coordinating going on with high school counselors right now, or we did in the past month, about the whole summer graduation situation. So we got some pushback about deferring graduation to August, but there has been a lot of communication, and I think we're all on the same page that sometimes it serves the students the most if they complete their AA in summer, for example. We inform students who we think need it about this August graduation option, and we're just keeping a close eye on graduating seniors over the summer. So we definitely try to make sure that they're all good for everything, pretty much. Okay, so that is that. For our quarterly advising, it comes in a couple of steps. The first step for the student is to see their high school counselor, obviously, for their RSEDF. A common counselor concern is that they see Running Start students more often than other students from their caseload, which is understandable. So we, there's not much we can do, but we try to help counselors as best as we can by helping the student to really understand what they need in terms of their academic goals and what they need for Olympic College, so that the conversation with the counselor may be not as extensive, especially if they're full-time with the college, obviously. Then maybe they only need to check some boxes at the high school, and the rest of the conversation can be done with us. We also adjusted our advising model. So in the beginning, it was all online and in-person appointments, like I said, about 45 minutes. Our enrollment has gone up by so much that we added a menu of options now. So we still have our in-person option, which is we have 3 locations at Olympic College, and so students can choose by location. We have a Zoom option. We have a homeschool option. So we have someone in our team who specializes in homeschool students, make sure cadres are met and all of that stuff. We have a STEM focus, so anyone interested in STEM pathways meets with Lily, who is just totally focused on that. And then we added what's called a self-directed advising option. And that is basically for students who maybe have a faculty advisor, have an academic plan mapped out, the next 2 years or whatever are mapped out, and they know exactly what they need to do. They have something to follow, or maybe they are not degree seeking. Those students still book an appointment. It's a 15-minute slot on my calendar and the director's calendar. And we use that time that's blocked in our calendar to just go into their stuff, make sure everything looks good, and then we send them an email and say, hey, everything looks great. You're good to go for fall. So we still keep tab on the students. We still make sure everything is good, but there is no direct communication back and forth unless it's needed. So as soon as I see, okay, something does not look right, something is definitely worth discussing, that's the moment where I will either refer them to a different appointment or I'll give them a quick call, because the student ideally has also that time blocked. And they know that we can maybe follow up with questions or send them a text if we have a quick question. It has been working fine. So I think not that many students have taken us up on it, but those who did, I would say 80% of those students are in and out in those 15 minutes. And I say in and out, but like the the time allotted for that works out. Okay. Oh, and for spring, we have graduation advising for our seniors. We also just started a pilot where we went into one of the high schools for dual advising. So I was in the room with the high school counselor, the student, and sometimes the parent came in. We had a conversation back and forth about the RCDF. We did the high school part and we did the OC part in one big appointment. And that actually worked really great because there was no, oh, my high school counselor never told me this, or oh, I didn't know I needed this. And all of those little questions that oftentimes take like an email back and forth, like, is this supposed to be a lab science or is a normal science okay? Those can just be talked about in that appointment. So that was pretty sweet. Okay. I will also talk a little bit about how we're doing in our office. And I think that's important because we are very fortunate with our amount, like with the amount of staff that we have. And so if you are in a situation where maybe you want to advocate for adding more staff, I think these numbers can hopefully help a little bit to make your case. So I think Running Start is generally really high in terms of retention rate. So this is not super surprising, but we have a retention rate of 93.9% from fall to winter versus around 70% for non-Running Start students at OC. So certainly a lot higher, which obviously has a lot to do with the funding that they receive and so on. The 2022 cohort had about a 50% two-year completion rate versus 31% statewide. So this is amongst Running Start students. So quite a bit higher, and this cohort is still ongoing. So this is obviously a two-year retention rate, but they could still be working on it and maybe finishing soon. So I expect that number to actually go up. And then so for this current cohort that we are serving right now at OC, 410 out of our 647 seniors have actually submitted their grad application. So that's about 63.4%, which that's quite a high number. In terms of credit milestones, we see 52% have reached that 45 credit milestone after the first year at OC versus 34% statewide. So I know these numbers are a little, like I have to read them over and over again for it to really make sense. So if you have any questions about that after this presentation, you can always email me and say, hey, can you just explain to me again what the numbers were? I also have a couple of graphs that hopefully help show this. So this is the whole completion after 2 years graph. The orange one is OC, the blue one is statewide, all other colleges. And as you can see, the 2021 cohort is at 55%. The 2022 cohort is at 50%. Again, that's because we're not quite done with the year yet. And I think it's going to look more closer to 60, 62, 63%. And the next slide, sorry, shows the completion after 3 years. So that looks a little bit closer to what I was just talking about. Our 2021 cohort, we had a 60% completion rate. So that doesn't only speak to what Running Start students accomplished during their 2 years, but they most likely stayed at OC to complete that, that credential. So I think that's a really good case to make to anyone in the administration to say, hey, yeah, they may start their, let's say, associate's degree with Running Start, but if they don't finish it, they won't go anywhere else probably to complete it if that's really their goal. They'll just stay at the college. And then they will be full FTE, and will be treated like any other student. The next slide shows what our students, our general achievements are at OC. And you can see the blue bar, that's Running Start students, that's current Running Start students. The orange bar is former Running Start students. So if we take the transfer degree, the Associate of Arts or so, over half of all of those completions are Running Start in some shape or form. So that is, I think, that makes me very proud, because you can definitely tell that a lot of the OC students are or have been Running Start and complete their degree. Okay, last but not least, we have some goals. Obviously, maintaining and increasing the high completion and retention rates. More staff honestly makes our life so much better and so much easier, because it would make collaboration with high schools easier. We have the time and capacity to really go to the high schools, help them, because we really want to collaborate with them. We know there is a massive you know, I don't even know how to phrase this, but we understand that high schools have such a huge burden too. They carry a lot of the burden with this, and so whatever we can do to help, we want to do. So more staff and capacity definitely helps here. And it just ensures that we have more wraparound services for students, and we can really pay more attention to the little things. There's also more capacity for innovation. So coming up with this like menu of options, for example, in terms of advising, the only reason why we were able to think about that is because we added a couple of people to the team who could focus on other things. So we had time to actually come up with being more proactive than reactive for this. OC has a something called OC Bound, where they go out to the high schools and they have different visits where they help students apply step by step to the college. And to have something like that for Running Start, I think would be awesome. Like go out and sit down with all the prospective students, answer all their questions, help them enroll, help them actually apply first. So really assist them with admissions processes. That's something I think would be super valuable, because that again takes some of the load off of the high school, where counselors get questions that they may not be able to answer, and we would be able to answer, but maybe the students and families don't really consider us a first point of contact. So having something like this, I think, would be great. And then again, another goal is streamlining student alerts and academic support meeting processes to serve the students better. Right now, it's really aligning it with OC policies, which, yeah, that turns out to be quite a lot. Okay, I see 43 unread chat messages, so I don't know if anyone wants to ask their question out loud.
Hi, I'm happy to chime in here. I'm the result of many of these chats. And your team has been doing a really good job of responding to me in the chat, so I've gotten a lot of answers. But I'm curious about kind of the culture around Running Start at the college and with the high schools that you partner with, and how you've been able to achieve such a huge number of full-time students. And for a little bit of context, for me at Edmonds, a lot of our students are part-time. And I think there's more of a culture of students wanting to do a little bit of everything. A lot of our students want to do AP and Running Start and a little bit of everything. And not as many students are committed to that full-time or understand the benefit of the full-time and the 2-year degree. So if you could talk about that a little bit, that would be helpful for me to understand.
Yeah, for sure. So I am honestly not sure why it would be different for our districts. I don't know if the communication from the high schools is maybe a little bit different. I doubt it, to be honest, because they don't want to give up their students for good reason. We do have a lot of info sessions. So I start info sessions in October usually, and I have them at least monthly. We had like, I think an average of 180 or so people in those info sessions every time. So quite a large number of interested students and families. So that's where I break it down. This is what it would look like if you're full-time. This is what it will look like if you're part-time. These are the benefits. These are the considerations. So I definitely, because I don't want to recommend to do it one way or the other, right? So I just tell them, okay, this is what this is the information that's out there, and now you can make an informed decision. And I wonder if that's just really helpful for them to understand, oh, I get it. I can still take Algebra 2 at the high school and also be a full-time Running Start student, because that works, right? Like that's totally doable. But for them to know what that means and the considerations, I think is really important. But maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. The culture, I think it's the same everywhere, to be honest. Like all the high schools and everyone goes through the same challenges with Running Start. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Danny from Clark College, and I think you touched on this for a second, but I might have missed it. How did you advocate for such good caseload numbers? Because we're not at the same, we're not in the same position. We have 3 full-time advisors, but we have about 2,200 Running Start students. So I'm just curious, how did you do it?
Honestly, I think having such high completion rates is a very good argument, because we can actually focus a little bit. So our thought process is the completion rates are that high because we can see students every quarter, pretty much, right? And we expect students to come in every quarter, ideally. So to then say, well, this is what we've been doing, and these are the completion rates, if we take away that element that we now have in terms of now we can see everyone, then I guess our prediction is that the completion rates will go down. So maybe making that argument is pretty helpful. So when advocating for a new staff member, you can say, well, look at Olympic College. They have 60% completion rates because they keep adding people. And this is not maintainable probably, right? Like we can't just keep adding people, but for now, I think the last time we did this, it's been pretty helpful. And sorry, one more thing. I don't know what you use to track student interactions, but we use something called Who's Next. And we log all the student interactions because, quite honestly, I don't know that colleges really understand the amount of work that we have with our students. Like the amount of student interactions we have is just astronomical. And we just did an amazing job tracking that for the last year and a half. And I would say for the last year, when we really realized we need another person, we've just been tracking the heck out of it. And brought that forward, and they said, oh, I guess you do see a lot of students.
Yeah.
And that really helped.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then just one other quick question. Our kind of administration in school has taken a hard stance on not allowing Running Start or non-Running Start to have priority enrollment over the other. And I think that I heard you say that you do have priority, that they do have priority on day 1. How do you navigate the equity of that?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And honestly, in this case, I don't even want to question it, because it was decided at one point that Running Start students could have priority enrollment. And I think the argument at the time was, well, they have holds. Other students don't have those additional holds. So it's unlikely that all 1,300 will enroll on day 1. Right? Because they have to provide an RSCVF, they have to schedule an appointment. So the amount of students who will end up with a priority enrollment is way lower than the actual than the general number. But because of those holes, that's already almost an equity issue, right? Because now they have additional burden, like an additional burden to cover basically, and they also have so many restrictions in their scheduling, like all of those restrictions with high school requirements, and it's just so much to navigate that we said it's only fair to kind of balance that out a little bit and have give them some kind of an advantage, I guess.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And yes, so Keely, I see your question if we require RSCVFs. We do require RSCVFs for them to enroll. So that is the big piece that we need from them so that they can register.
So I have a question about that actually. So question A, do you ever have struggles with your high school counselors at all, providing the RSCVFs? And do you have also struggles in between summer for fall RSCVFs? It's a huge struggle that I have with the high school counselors that I work with locally here. They fight me a lot on getting RSCVFs, so I'd like to hear your input.
I think we've been getting to a point where we have very good relationships with the high school counselors, and they understand, we communicate our process obsessively, so that the counselors understand the impact that all of this has on the students, right? So they know, we inform them well in advance before our advising actually starts. So they have a huge amount of time to, not a huge amount, they will always say it's not enough because it probably isn't. But they definitely get a heads up to prepare the RSCVFs, to make sure that their ducks are in a row before we even start our process. And so by the time enrollment opens, probably 2 months have already gone by between us communicating this is the timeline to now students are eligible to enroll. So on the first day of enrollment, they know about that well in advance. And the same for summer and fall, we communicated obsessively. Shopping carts open this day, enrollment opens that day, you go on break. We try our best to see every student, and that's kind of our goal, is to see every single student before everyone goes on break.
Gotcha. And I
yeah.
guess another question is, do you find that you have trouble with students and parents that didn't get their RSCVF before the summer, and they will pester you the entire summer and then just, until fall starts? Or tell me about that.
Yeah, so yes, that does happen. And last year it was a little bit easier because the districts had their designated person. So it's going to be interesting to see what it'll look like this year. I haven't really heard much from the individual high school counselors. They don't have a district person this year, so no contact, so no RSCVF support. And that's why we've been really, really clear on communicating that we need everything beforehand. So even if we send out admissions lists to the high school counselors from the beginning of admissions. Basically, we send out, these are the students who applied from your school. These are the students who moved forward with our school. So we keep them informed. I think weekly, Kel, is that right? Or so?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, so every week we send out an email, or we upload it on SharePoint, or send out an email if they ask, okay, these are the students that probably will come to you asking for an RSCVF, so that they know what to expect.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned SharePoint. Do you have a SharePoint that you share with your district and your high school counselors?
Oh, we sure do.
Oh my
It's
God.
Yeah, it's that's where we share the grade reports, enrollment reports. So every high school
Wow.
has an OC login basically, that they can use to log into the SharePoint, and then Kel updates whatever is due onto the SharePoint. And it's a whole different story because logistically it's just a lot of work for us. But
Yes.
I think the return on investment for this one is massive because high schools feel way more like they're more in the loop.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. Okay. So with that, like how were you able to get these counselors OC logins? Like how did that work?
You know, that that is a great question, and it actually happened before I even started.
Mhm.
I think I would have to look into that. I don't know, Stephanie, you probably remember Heather. I think she set that up a long time ago, and I would ask IT if that's possible, because I think so. We did double check it with IT. It's all been
Uh-huh.
like we have to go through a bunch of security stuff, but
Uh-huh.
it's definitely IT has signed off on it, and they say it's fine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
You just have
we're just
absolutely blown my
responsible.
mind.
Oh, but we are responsible for their login information. So we
Yeah.
have to renew their CTC, like their password that needs to be renewed every 3 months or so. And then Kel sends out an email to every single person saying, this is your new login information. And then an email comes back, my password isn't working. So it's like a whole thing, and takes up a lot of time, but I think
Uh-huh.
it really pays off.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Yeah.
That's so helpful.
For sure. If you have any more questions about the specifics of that, we're more than happy to help with that.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well,
Fantastic job, Anisja. Wow, just so helpful. Thank you. And your whole Olympic
thank you.
College team. Thank you so much, Cal. I know, and I know there was a few other folks helping in there. So excellent
Yes. It
presentation.
would not, I will say, this whole shebang would not work without having an amazing team. And every single person from like the top to the student workers, like everyone plays their part. And our administration, I think, that also is a big piece. They are realizing more and more how much work goes into these programs. So yeah, it just takes a lot of advocating. So if anyone feels like it feels very hopeless, I can promise you, you just got to collect the data and make a really strong case, and eventually they can't say no anymore. That's my guess.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And just judging on the chat and all the questions that you had, just really appreciate, you just being willing to share everything that you did today. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Anisja. We really value you. And I just also wanted to say, if anybody else is interested in presenting what they're doing at their colleges, of course, perfect plug. We would absolutely welcome this. I think it's really important that peer-to-peer share out. I know we've historically done the breakout sessions, but I think that went really well and just really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Anicia. Okay, we're gonna actually wrap up, I think, early today. I know everyone's very busy, so just a couple last slides real quick. I just wanted to mention that we are going to continue our CTC Running Start virtual series, and all of them will continue to be posted on our SBCTC dual credit YouTube playlist. So here's our save the dates for this next academic year. And as Kristen has so amazingly put here, the OSPI, SBCTC, and COP dual credit webinar will be October 23rd. Again, that's going to be more than just our community technical colleges. That will be our K-12 partners as well as our higher education four-year institutions will be joining us for that one. So it's going to be, and it'll be inclusive of all dual credit as well. So not just specific to Running Start. So save the date for that one, October 23rd. And then our series will kick back off on November 19th. 9 to 11 a.m. And that's when we will have Brandon and Spencer provide many of their updates, I'm sure, at that point after summer, and a lot of awesome work and collaboration that will happen. So please save the date for that one. And again, as I mentioned earlier today, we decided not to have a December session just due to holidays and end of term. So just important to note on that one. And yes, we will send out the slides in the listserv afterwards and all of the resources that are included here. So anyways, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful summer. I hope that graduations, if you haven't had them yet, go well. And I just hope everybody the best on wrapping up their term and a wonderful summer ahead. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Take care, everybody.